Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Capturing Your Love Show, where we talk about everything weddings, marriage, relationships, and so much more. Coming up, we have Tyler and Sienna Kemp on, who dive deep into a very fresh perspective on how social media can help relationships, on how sacrifice is key for achieving your goals, and the value of truly understanding your soulmate. So let's jump in. The impact of digital communication on relationships today. How do you guys think digital communication affects relationships and dating? And do you think that there are more pros or cons?
What do you think? You want to go first? Or should I?
You can go.
I think that there's more pros because like the communication is like endless in a way. Like I know for us, we started talking through Snapchat. And for some reason, like we didn't exchange numbers, but it was only Snapchat. It was like one of those like, just send a picture of the wall over there, send a picture of this over here. But we were like talking, like we were texting almost. And that was in 2018. And I just feel like there's so many more ways to communicate now that like even just sending an Instagram reel, sending a Facebook or tagging them on Facebook and something, like I think that is a great way of communicating. It's telling who you are, telling if the other person likes that or not, the laughs that come with it. So I think the technology and like the digital age is helping communication more. I know it has its downfalls, I get it, but like I think for that point of it, you can just almost like there's so many more ways to communicate. It's not just the hands-on, it's not written letters, it's not anything like that. You can do it in memes now. You can do it in TikToks, you can do it any way you want.
Yeah, I mean, I see things more from like the criminal justice side of things. So I think it's good as long as you're being responsible, but there are instances where it can get out of hand or you don't necessarily know who you're talking to and then it's a safety issue. But I think as long as you're being responsible and you trust who you're talking to, then it's a good form of communication. But I'm very like, be wary about it. Like there are bad people out there.
Very fresh perspective. I must say, I think that everyone else so far has been doom and gloom about it. Really? So I really enjoy this fresh perspective. I would say I'm on the gray line. Like it really just depends who you are and how you're being responsible. If someone else has terrible intentions, like that's on them. You need to have your guard up. But yeah, I really enjoyed that fresh perspective. That's awesome.
I just think that you can learn so much more from seeing what people like or what they're sending you. I think especially funny videos, like you can tell everyone's personality, you can tell their mood real quick. That so much more than what you could just talking about it. I think so.
I like that.
That was kind of my perspective on that. Definitely, you got to know the person though. I think is the first one because before you start sending the memes and all the videos, you're like, okay.
So then, devil's advocate, how do you think it goes into play for those who are trying to get to know someone? Do you think that when you're trying to get to know someone, you don't already know them, that the digital sphere hinders that? Do you think it makes it more difficult, or is it still easy?
I think when you're trying to get to know someone, especially over the phone, like people are braver and will say things that they might not necessarily say in person over the phone. So like my biggest thing is that sometimes it might create a false reality. Like you go in meeting someone and they might be like super outgoing over the phone, and then you meet them in person and they like don't even want to talk to you, which I mean, like we didn't have that issue, but it's out there. Like, so just generally, I think it almost does make it harder to get to know someone. Like people may be more open, but you don't know if that's how they're like in real life. And you're going to be with them in real life. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think if it's somebody that you're definitely interested in, like dating, you're not sure of yet, you definitely have to be honest with everything. Yeah. Like don't send them, messages that you don't mean, or don't go be outgoing, be yourself when it comes down to that. Like the initial dating phase, I would say is key because it's only going to benefit you in the long run once you meet that person.
Awesome. How about when you compare, let's say 2010 to 2012 to 2014 when it comes to dating, how do you think the biggest what do you think the biggest differentiator is when it comes to just dating in general?
Well, I always say, like, if I ever had to date again, it would be horrible because there's so much. Like, there's so much nowadays, and, like, I don't even know probably 90% of even what's out there. And, like, with us and with you, especially being from the small area, like, you're kind of limited on your general area, especially like in high school, like maybe people dated in Kutztown that went to Brandywine, but even that, it was like, whoa, here.
Shout out Michael Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got you, Michael.
Across the line. But now it's like there's so much more opportunity to meet people from all over, and like we never had that. And I don't even know if I'd want that. Like that's crazy to me. But
and the range you can make up, like the dating apps now that I've heard, like you can go in that small area, you can go to the state, you can go to the country, you can go to the world. And it's like the opportunities are like endless in that sense, which is great, but also opens up things that you're not sure about. So I can definitely see how like it's definitely evolved over time. Because like even in 2010, 2012, maybe people had text message. I think it was AIM for the most part for a couple of years. That AOL. Everyone still has that like cringy AOL account that they made. So I think that like that has evolved over time. Now you can make your own profile. You can make your profile photos. You can make it videos. You can make it quotes. You can make it lyrics. And it's like you can express yourself a little bit more. But once again, it always comes down to like just making sure you're being safe and just keeping it in the realm of being truthful too.
yeah.
I like that. How do you two balance growing as individuals and growing as a couple? And what tactics do you guys use that work best?
I would say that we are, I mean, I don't want to talk for, but it just seems like we are very, we love each other, but we also want what's best for the other person. Like we will grow together. And if, let's say I had a great day and Sienna didn't have a great day at work, you know, maybe that just, we kind of find a way to counteract that, because we always know it can change any time. So, like I just think overall, in terms of growing, we just want to support each other in the best way we can, because we know it's about us. And if one person's bringing that person up, then the other person's going to be on its way too. So, I just think that it's about doing it together more than anything.
Yeah, and I mean we've gone through a lot over the last 2 years, so like just the amount of growth that we've had since even the wedding has been like, it was almost one of those things where it's like we had to, like there wasn't another option. It was either we do this and grow from it, or we don't. Like it was pretty much like we had to grow from it. So which I'm sure we'll get into that later.
Well, before you got married, may have had expectations in your head. We're here today, 621 days later.
Yeah.
How did those expectations differ now that you've lived, almost 2 years married?
I don't know. Like I think truthfully, it's meeting expectations. Now that we're living together, now that we're married, I mean, it just feels like this is awesome. I get to live with my best friend. I get to wake up next to my best friend every day. I feel like I get to grow with my best friend. We have a puppy now. Like things that like we were dreaming of, it's happening, and it took a while to get there. But I think it's like that's the best part about it, is that we're doing it, everything we can hope for, but together.
Yeah.
And I think I wouldn't want it any other way.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, my biggest thing, like I always thought things would be easier than what they were, but I'm also glad they aren't as easy, because we really grew together and we learned about each other and we figured out how to manage horrible situations, and I think it ultimately made us better people and a better couple. So yeah, there's nothing that I would change.
Are there any misconceptions that you guys had challenges with? Like, I don't even have an example, but I guess you could say, like, did you have the misconception that everything was going to be, happily ever after and perfect, and you had to work through that?
Yeah, I would say a little bit. You want to go?
Well, the biggest well, we had a couple hurdles. The house being one, like.
Tell me about the house process. What was that like?
So we bought the land in 2020, and
congrats, by the way. That's crazy.
we met with the builder right away. We were planning on having it done before we were married, so that way we could live together. And we gave him a price that was doable for us, and he was like, "Yeah, sure." And then COVID kind of happened, and prices skyrocketed, and the quote that we originally given ended up tripling.
No.
Yeah.
Like it could fit in the budget, and then all of a sudden that budget was like
3 times what we originally said.
That's crazy.
So obviously we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So we had to wait, and we had to make a couple different plans and make some sacrifices, which was just fine. And then just the fact that something that usually would take 4 months to build now is taking like a year plus. So then, like, we ended up almost a whole year married, not living together. So that was...
That's the
Whoa,
big part.
talk about
Yeah,
that.
that's the big one. Is
Talk about that. How'd that even work?
so I think we were probably 6 months out of the wedding, I'd say still. Or at least like when we're figuring out the news that the house is not going to be done. Like we're almost there, but it's still going to be a while.
Yeah.
And I was living with my mom. She was living with her parents. And, you know, we were like, we could move in together. We also want to support our families. Like if we're leaving one side or the other. So we
didn't want to pay rent because it's like we have an end goal. It's there. It's just now waiting for it, and it would be silly to spend money on something that we already know is going to cost more than we originally planned.
So then it was just about making like those sacrifices of like, okay, we are not going to live together. We're not going to be able to celebrate. You know, I mean, we were always together. I would say every weekend.
Yeah.
Most of the times during the week we were seeing each other. We would go on those date nights still, but it was more just the fact of like we can't live together. You know, we're not going to go down Christmas morning and open up presents together. We're not going to get a dog together yet or anything like that. So. I mean, just the little sacrifices that we took because we knew we had the end goal in mind and because we wanted that goal together, you know?
I would not call that little sacrifices, by the way. Sorry. That's crazy.
We try to make them in our minds little sacrifices. We knew at the time it was like, yeah, this really isn't ideal. But, you know, like you said, we had that end goal in mind. And luckily we had that to like look at. Like if the house wouldn't have been done for another 2 years, it would have been just like, okay, let's keep pushing through. It would have been a little more difficult, but like it happened. We're here now, so
yeah, can't change it.
Talk about, just because I actually don't hear this enough, but talk about balancing like family expectations. Like you mentioned like Christmas, like did you guys have to learn that together? Because I know we were in that position. So it was like, how'd you guys learn that and work through that?
So I made a spreadsheet.
Let's go. Organized. I like it.
Yeah, no, I love a good spreadsheet. But so his parents are divorced, and we have my family. So we wanted to make sure that we get everyone because they're all relatively
So
local.
is it 3 households or is there 4?
3.
3.
or 3, yep.
So what started off as a spreadsheet has now continued to this day that we still follow the trend where we'll start here and then at this time then we'll go to this house and then at this time we'll go to this house and it's easier now that we're actually living together because we don't have to like drive to various places. But yeah, no spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And it was nice just prioritizing the family in that aspect where it was just like, you know, we prioritized it equally.
Yeah.
And like we respected each other's family in that case where it's like we didn't choose one or the other. We just mapped it out, figured out the best common area and went from it there. And I think the family appreciates it.
Yeah, and they're also very accommodating. Like I know some people, they get angry if you're not spending X amount of hours with them. But our family knows the situation and they're very open about it.
Yeah.
So it's like, just come when you can.
That's awesome. Both sides.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool. Talk about how you both handle your financial and career goals together. How do you guys support one another? And is there any friction?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I like I kind of mentioned earlier, it's like we will support each other no matter what. Yeah. Like if she's shooting for a raise or a promotion in her job and needs a little bit of time to, you know, study at night or she has to travel some days, that's completely fine. Like, I don't understand why some people think of it almost like as a burden. Like, in my eyes, I can sacrifice a little bit to make sure she grows. And it's the other way around too. Like if she knows I need time to study, if I need time to write a paper, she'll give me that time as well. I know that there's some like relationships I've heard about, like they get angry at one another for, oh, they're always working on this paper. They're always doing this. They're always spending time away. But in reality, they're just trying to better themselves, which should better that other person as well. And financially, I think we have a good situation. Like we both communicate, you know, this is our end goal with our house and everything. So we're both going to contribute what we can. And we have a joint account together and we kind of leave our own finances too when we need to. So, and I think the biggest thing was just communicating that up front.
Yeah.
And just like, is this all right with you? Yeah, that's all right with me. This is what I kind of expected.
I have more spreadsheets with that.
Yes.
Let's go. Yo. I want to see these spreadsheets.
Yeah. They're scary. But I love it. That's the thing.
It keeps us organized. It keeps us, and then we know what we can spend and what we can't. And yeah, it holds us accountable.
I wish I could stay that organized too.
Well, it's like
So someone needs to have this skill. It doesn't need to be both of you guys, but
yeah, like we don't need 2 spreadsheets at the same time.
No, 2 spreadsheets.
Oh man, we're gonna jump into your love story. before we go into it, what has been the biggest thing that you have each learned in marriage?
Biggest thing I've learned. I have always been a pretty independent person. So I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that I need to be dependent on him. And, like, we've had so many situations where, like, I wasn't able to keep it together and I'm having a meltdown and I would need someone to communicate with and to rely on and get through the dark times with. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned.
Yeah, and I would kind of echo that with, like, independent versus dependent part of things. Just like, you know, I was also a very independent person, so I think it's also relying on that other person and knowing that they're there. And, like, instead of overwhelming yourself by just doing everything and, like, making sure you want to feel independent, you're doing this, but you have a partner that will also be there for you and that will also take care of you and will do some of the things to relieve your stresses. So I think that just realizing that was a big part of the learning process. Is like, we don't have to overwhelm ourselves. We can trust the other person to do what, you know, we expect them to do.
That's awesome. And we'll get more into it. So like I said, we're 621 days married now, and you started chatting, you said, over Snapchat. How did the first date happen? Who initiated it? Tell us about it.
Well, it was sushi, and I think it was one of those things where sending pictures, like, oh, we're here, and maybe I sent, like, a picture, or you might have said you had sushi one day. Oh, I love sushi. So I think that's just kind of how, I don't know who started, who got the invite, or who sent the invite, but
I don't know, because we were friends for a while beforehand. So I don't know. I think it was just kind of one of those things where we were talking about it and we were like, let's just do it. Like, let's just go. And then we did, and then...
And I didn't think of it as, like, a date. Like, I wasn't, like, nervous. I was like, I'm just going to hang out with
That's how love happens.
Yeah.
It catches you by surprise.
It's like, I'm just going to sushi with
Like,
this awesome person.
Yeah, and we would usually hang out, like, we had mutual friends. So, like, if we were hanging out together, it was always with them. And then it was like, okay, maybe we don't need to invite them. And then it just went from there.
Awesome. So, sushi to the proposal. What evolved in between all of that for you to think, I want to marry this girl?
So I think we had sushi, and I would say there was about, like, how long? There was probably, like, 4 years.
Yeah, well,
3-4 years.
You went to Penn State then. So we had a long distance relationship. Well, not long. It wasn't, like, super.
Well, talk about it, because long distance relationships are tough to work through. So, you know, describe how yours was and how you guys worked through it.
Yeah, I mean, even, like, before, like, from the sushi part, then, like, we were friends we were talking back and forth, and then we thought we were serious for a little bit. Like, we were gonna make things official, and then we both kind of weren't sure about it, of, like, if that was really what we wanted, because we were both going different parts of our career. Because I was about to go long distance to Penn State, like, the main campus. And she was already graduated, being a few years older, so she was thinking about her career. You know, where's it going to take her? Is she going to be local? Is she going to travel to different states? So we kind of went apart a little bit, and then we kind of reunited, because I think, you know, when we went away a little bit in the meantime between the sushi and then becoming truly official before the engagement, I think we just kind of realized that, like, we need that friendship first. And, like, that was the biggest part for us, or at least in my opinion. It was just the, you know, I needed her for a friend, I needed her for a girlfriend, I needed her for a fiance, and now a wife. So, like, I think that's what really made it, like, the most important for me, is, like, that's how we kind of connected then. And I think we both realized that at some point. And then the long distance relationship happened.
Yeah. Which, it's not like it was still drivable.
Yeah,
it was like just a couple hour drive. It wasn't like it was across the country, but it was still challenging. Like, we only saw each other a couple times a month. Like, you would come home pretty frequently, but there were still times that you couldn't, and I would go up and see football games and stuff, and it was fun.
And you were starting your career too at that time, so, like, there was so much going on. Like, I was away at, like, starting the real part of the college. She was starting her career, so I think it was just time for both of us to, like, once again make ourselves better and sacrifice a little bit of time, whether I couldn't come home that weekend or she was busy working. So COVID made things interesting for a while, and, like we mentioned, you know, I was still in college at the time, but we didn't really have a mutual place to live when we came home. So I would go with my mom, she would still be with her parents. So even when I was home for semesters, it was still separated. COVID hit, I came home, and I stayed home. And my mom was very worried about the time, as everyone was when the pandemic first hit. Like, could we go outside? People wearing scuba masks to this grocery store. They had snorkels out their mouths. Like, we saw everything. So like, there was a little bit of panic going on with everything happening. So my mom asked that I just kind of stay for a couple weeks and just make sure, nothing's really happening crazy. She'd continue to work and everything. So I don't think we saw each other for...
It was a couple weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks.
Maybe
I would say
like a month or two.
I would say like 3-4 weeks we didn't see each other. So like we were going from long distance relationship to all of a sudden we're close, but we're not seeing each other as much because of everything going on. So that was a challenge of like, that part of things with COVID, as everyone, had a lot of things going on with COVID. But part of it then was during COVID, I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So it was very odd. It was about May 2020. Took my dog for a walk, just decided to go out. And I noticed like my eye was a little bit blurry. So I thought it was allergies. It was May. I didn't go outside that much.
Like, it's just allergies.
Yeah, it's just allergies. Take a few eye drops, it'll be fine. So I was doing that. And then I would just, every day I'd wake up and I'm like, my eye's getting worse and worse and worse. So then finally I went to a doctor. They were like doing all these assessments on me with my eye. Went to an eye doctor. Went to an orthopedic, just all sorts of different doctors I was going to. And then they said, you need to go to the emergency room. I went and I found out that I had a lesion on my optic nerve. So I had to go to Philadelphia.
During the pandemic.
It was still shut down. Nobody was in Philadelphia. It was great at that point. But I went to the ER in Philly and stayed there for 3 days. And that was just like a scary moment. But I was glad that I had her with me. Or, she was at home still, but she drove to see me. She took care of me. It was still when I was only allowed to have one patient in the hospital. So she was the one back and forth with my mom. So that threw a little bit of a interesting approach on our relationship a little bit, just because like that was the first time I think that she was like a caretaker at that point. And like, that was a good sign for me that like, we were dating for 2.5 years at that point. But I was like, so she's driving from Fleetwood to Philadelphia like that to drop off clothes and everything for me and take care of me, and went back and forth a few times. I was like, she's more than just a friend. She's more than just a girlfriend. And that's how I kind of knew like, this is serious. This is wifey stuff, as they're saying. So that
driving to Philly is different too.
Well, it took me probably like 30 minutes because there was no traffic.
That's you're right. Everyone's indoors.
I ever got it was almost scary. I was like, I don't see another car. This doesn't make sense.
Sienna goes on my way, and I'm like, all right, she'll be here in like an hour and a half. She's like, I'm here. I'm like, all right.
Whoa, man, that's awesome. That's a good perspective. So when did your perspective shift from friend, boyfriend, fiance, future hubby?
I don't know the exact time. I mean, I was pretty much sending you rings like pretty early. And I was getting pretty antsy to the point where I was like, oh, there's a sale at Zales right now. Like, you could get something reasonably priced. And yeah.
Well, what qualities did you see in him early on, or as you were dating, that you noticed and you're like, those are qualities I want to spend the rest of my life with?
I mean, he's just a great guy. He's funny. He is caring. He always wanted to know like how I'm doing, what my needs were, if my needs were being met. Like you can't be sad when you're around him, and you just need that personality in your life. Like, I don't know. And it was to the point where I'm like, he's literally my best friend. Like, I don't want to not be around it, so buy this ring. Like,
make things official.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was before your MS that I was thinking that. I mean, and I like had Pinterest boards that I was sending you and stuff. Like,
you were set. You're ready. You're like,
it was like it just. Once I knew that my job was secure and that we had a plan, I was like, all right, let's just do it. Like, I'm ready. Cool. I'm also a little older than him, so I was kind of like, all right, let's
go, Bob.
Yeah.
So, how did the proposal happen? Tell us about it.
So the proposal happened. I think I'll start with the ring on top of everything. So the ring she has right now actually is a diamond from her mom's side of her family. That it was a really good sign when my mother-in-law came up to me. She called me in the basement because Sienna was like outside.
She was mowing the grass.
She was mowing the grass at that point. She's like, come down here.
A caretaker, a landscaper. Bro, you locked it in.
And her mom like said, so we have this family ring. or a family diamond. And it was actually a male's ring at the time with a diamond in it. It was her grandfather's brother, I believe it was.
Yeah, or like his uncle or something.
Pretty baller.
Yeah. And it was like this beautiful ring. It was a big gold ring, I should say, but it had this lovely diamond in it. And she was like, I think it would mean a lot, you know, if we kept that ring going and had the diamond in there and everything, and we could make it into something else. And she's like, is this something you want to do? I was like, absolutely. Like,
it was so early. Like, not early, but it was definitely like a good chunk of time before.
Like the
The
sushi
actual
date?
proposal.
Like at
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Ring.
I would say it was like summer of 2020. Like I was out of the hospital at that
Yeah.
point. I was on
Yeah.
medication and everything, so I was doing better. And like we just knew after the time away and her being the caretaker and just the years of being friends, and they hear us giggling nonstop and just having fun with one another. It's like they knew it was that was the next step. So obviously I had their blessing off the bat, which was great. Also asked for her dad's blessing as well. Kept it kind of traditional. And then during that time is when we bought the land for our property. So I kind of wanted to include that in some sort of way. So it was around October. It was October 10th was the engagement date. I decided that I was going to take her to the property, that we were going to spend the rest of our lives together, hopefully once the house was built, and ask her to marry me in the backyard. So I had pumpkins written, you know, I think I had the date we started dating, which was yesterday, 6 years ago. So
No
2/21,
way!
17.
Happy dating anniversary. That's awesome.
So we had the pumpkin there that said that date on it. And then I had like 10, 10, 20 on the next pumpkin. And the next one was like a question mark. So that's kind of how I asked. Side story though, before we got to the lot, I like playing a little mind games. I like just the game. I like having fun. I like puzzles. I try to have a little fun with it. So I took her to Grimm's, the place. I'm not sure if I should say the name, or I took her to a pumpkin farm. Sorry, I took her to pumpkin.
They're not watching. You're sorry.
Not a sponsor.
One day.
I took her to a pumpkin patch and corn maze and apple picking in the local area. But we went in before that. Her sister knew that Sienna would always want her nails painted before she was proposed to.
I was
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
And Sienna's also told me and her sister, like, I got to make sure whenever I get engaged, I have to have my nails painted. I don't want them looking like, you know, I just got out of the garden or anything like that. So the night before, her sister asked, Sienna, do you want your nails painted? And that kind of sparked the alarm.
I was a little suspicious at that point.
And we also were planning a trip to this local pumpkin patch, cornfield maze, apple picking.
I really didn't hope he was going to do it there. I was like, okay, well, it is
that
what it is.
And that was part of it because we've known people that have been proposed there or got engaged there before. And there's nothing wrong with that, but
I didn't want that.
she didn't want that. And I knew she didn't want that. So I took her there. And while we're there, she is on alert right now. She knows something's up.
Yeah.
She knows, well, my nails are painted. We're going to Grimm's. There's pumpkin patches where people get engaged. And going on from there, we're in the line going into the park, and all of a sudden she just starts doing this. She's like, oh.
No way, you're calling him out.
She's like,
Just straightforward about it.
Are these your car keys?
You're so bold.
I'm sorry.
You're so bold.
And at that point, I'm like, she knows something's up. Which I thought was kind of fitting the plan a little bit. I wanted her to kind of have an alarm. And we were at Grimm's and, went in the corn maze. I didn't do anything mean like, oh, my shoe's untied or anything. Get on one knee. But then we left. And you could almost tell there was a little bit of like, she was deflated a little.
I was annoyed.
She was
I
annoyed.
was so annoyed.
Because she got her hopes up. She had her nails done. And all we went was just for a corn maze. And
Some overpriced popcorn.
So the disappointment was there, and it was kind of a quiet ride home. And her house, or her parents' house, was only about 30 seconds away from the lot. And I was like, well, let's just go to the lot. I want to see what the leaf situation is. Like, do we have to leaf blow anything? So we get out of the car, and I could tell she's very annoyed at this point. Just deflated, just like bummed out. And kind of walk to the land and everything. And there was a tree in the backyard. And there's pumpkins there. And we always put pumpkins, too, because our neighbors, it was an empty lot for years. They would always just throw their pumpkins.
So I'm thinking they're, like, throwing their garbage.
Yeah. So now she's double annoyed. She's like, there's pumpkins in there. I'm like, yeah, that's weird. I don't know why there's pumpkins. So then we walk up, and she reads the dates. And that's when I get on a knee and I just, want to spend the rest of my life with her there. So that's kind of how the proposal happened.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Were you nervous?
Yes.
A little bit?
I think I said what I wanted to say, but at the same time, it might have came out like rest of lot here, like Yoda style. But it was a cool moment.
Yeah.
I actually put a like a hunting
cam.
a trail cam
Yeah.
on the tree,
smart.
to kind of capture the
Smart.
moment a little bit. It wasn't the best quality, but it was still, we could still look back on it a little bit.
That's awesome. Now you were on guard, then you were off guard, but once it happened, what were you feeling?
Well,
Oh, what was your answer to what I asked? Before I asked.
said shut the F up.
No way, like in shock.
But
right?
I didn't say that. Like I full on
yeah.
said it, and I didn't even realize I said it. And then we're watching the trail came back. Like his dad got the footage and it was like sending it to his grandma and all this stuff.
Without realizing
and then you just like turn the volume up and you full on hear me.
Aw, that's funny
A
though.
little aw.
You just gotta bleep it.
This wonderful moment with, will you marry me? And she
I don't
just
even know
tells
if I
me to
said
shut up.
yes.
Yeah.
Just like
Just says shut up.
Were there some tears?
Yeah.
yeah,
some tears?
yeah. I mean, it wasn't like I was like mad, like angry. Like it was like, oh my god, like instead of just saying, oh my god, that was I have a potty mouth.
Yeah, that's right. That's awesome. Proposal to your wedding date. How soon did you start planning the wedding? What was it like? Were there challenges?
Spreadsheets.
So
They
many
came out.
challenges.
They came out.
I pretty much just told Tyler to show up.
No.
Yeah, no, I had calendar spreadsheets. I had table decoration spreadsheets. I'm telling you, I love a good spreadsheet.
Yeah, you already had the Pinterest boards.
Oh yeah,
set
like
up.
I had in my head exactly what I wanted, so it was actually pretty easy. I thought it was easy. I don't know.
I thought it was really
Yeah.
easy. Yeah.
So what was the biggest challenge?
Probably just making sure that it all came together.
Yep, and just staying in the budget too.
Yeah, staying in the budget, because I mean everything ends up being way more than you think, and then factor in all like fees and tips, and we know what we wanted. Like we definitely wanted you guys as photographers. Like that was something that was like, okay, this is hands down going to be something that we do first, and then if we have to sacrifice something else, like we're gonna do that. But like I really, 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 really wanted a good photographer.
And I would say
That's-
COVID was in consideration too, as well. Like,
Yeah.
I hate to bring back COVID into everything,
No,
but
it's
it was
true.
like,
I always try and just forget
where are we
about
going to
that.
have it? How many people are we going to be
Yeah.
able to invite? Do we have to worry about mandates or anything?
Yeah, when
So
we
I
were
think-
trying to find venues, Hummel's was the only place that was actually open that we could go in. Like, there were some places where they're like, well, you can go, but no one's going to be there. And I'm like, isn't that trespassing? Like, what? Also, like, what if I have a question? Like,
Yeah.
this just doesn't seem practical. And Hummel's, they were, sorry if I'm saying the name again, the place that we
Not a
went.
sponsor.
Positive. Well, it's positive. It's whatever.
They were so accommodating, and they were like, you can come, you can bring, like, if we can't have it inside, we'll put a tent up outside. Like, they were very, very accommodating. And with the uncertainties of the day, I was like, all right, let's do it. Like, we
Yeah.
can fit the space. It's reasonably priced. They were great. They were so nice. Like, zero complaints. So once we had that, then it was pretty easy. And then it was just a matter of, like, making sure we paid people on time and all the logistics behind it.
Did you land over budget, on budget, or under budget?
We were pretty much right on budget.
Right on
Spreadsheet
budget?
came in
Awesome.
clutch. The
Let's
spreadsheet
go.
came in
That's
clutch.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. The wedding day happened. Probably don't remember too many details, but for the most part, was it an awesome day?
Oh, I had a blast.
Like everyone has said, it's the quickest day of your life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, it's the quickest day, whatever. And then it happened. I'm like, oh my God, that was the quickest day of my life. Like, what happened?
Listen, there's just so much going on, but you're having so much fun at the same time that it's like you don't even realize that 3 hours went by. And I mean, we wanted a low maintenance party atmosphere. Like, we just wanted people to have fun. We didn't want it to be a huge production. Like, our main goal was just to have fun and have everyone else have fun. So I think everyone had fun. It seemed like everyone had fun.
Yeah.
Like, we had fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't change anything.
And I would say the coolest part was just like seeing everyone together. Like,
Yeah.
I think that was the craziest moment of it. Like, you would see Sienna's college friends with my college friends, or her second uncle with my second uncle, and it's just like all the world's connected right there, which was awesome to see, because it's like that truly means it's now my second uncle and her second uncle, or vice versa now. So
The picture you got from up top, the balcony that has like everyone on it, I love looking at like there's that person, there's that person, there's
Yeah,
that person.
when else is that photo ever going to
I
happen?
know.
yeah, that was awesome.
What was the biggest win and loss that you feel like happened that day?
I know a loss that I kind of felt bad as I did step on Sienna's dress.
Yeah, he ripped my train.
No way.
Yeah, the bustle, it wouldn't bustle anymore.
When was it? When did it happen?
It was pretty early on.
Yeah, we just got to the to the reception.
No, we ate, and we were going around to the tables to talk to people.
That was beforehand.
No, it was during that. And then, I mean, you're trying to maneuver through all the people and the chairs and whatnot. And but it's fine. Someone had a safety pin.
Awesome. That's not
It wasn't a terrible.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the worst thing that happened, like, I'm never gonna wear it again.
Yeah.
It's really okay. Like, I wasn't. It was more of an inconvenience, but it wasn't bad.
I don't know about the win. Like, it just felt like
I thought the whole day was a win.
Flow, like timeline was just like on point. I had no complaints about it. It's like I couldn't imagine like having it any other way. Then like so in my eyes that was a great day overall.
Yeah. Like I said, I wouldn't change anything.
Is that loss your loss as well? Getting stepped on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had to play devil's advocate and change one thing, what would it be about that day?
That's tough.
I don't know. I always say like I wouldn't change any. I mean, other than I would probably put a bigger hold on my dress so it wouldn't tear. But I mean, I mean, the one like minor complaint we got was that there was a lot of downtime between the ceremony and the reception. So I might have, like, they didn't realize they could have gone into the bar. Like, Hummel's was open, just not the venue place, which we didn't notice that because we weren't there.
Oh, your guests didn't know. Oh.
But I mean, they can also just sit in a parking lot for like a little bit. It's okay.
It didn't impact us. I hate to say it like that.
Yeah.
But it was like, I'm sorry you didn't get to go in. We were on a party bus on the way there.
So that might have been like the only thing I changed is maybe like have Hummel's open the door sooner or something. I don't know, something silly like that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Did you honeymoon?
We did.
Where'd you honeymoon?
So this is an interesting one. I'm sorry if we don't have time. We went
We're
to
good.
Myrtle Beach, South Carolina,
Cool.
because we also had that end goal of building the house. So we knew that we didn't want to go crazy with the honeymoon.
We also didn't know like if things were going to shut down again and like we didn't want to be deserted somewhere we couldn't get back.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
So we were kind of going back and forth, and we also were grateful that we had a family member that said, you know, we can give you either money to the house or we can give you a honeymoon, and then like any place you want in the world. And I was like, well, we really want this end goal of having a house. Like this was our end goal from even before we got engaged. Like this is what we really want to do. So it took a little bit of sacrifice, and we went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which nothing wrong with Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. It was a beautiful place. We had a.
I'm almost glad we didn't go anywhere because he got sick.
Oh, how soon did you honeymoon? Right at was it?
It
right
was the
after,
following week.
Yeah. So how'd you get sick? What was?
I maybe a lot of stressors. You know, my wedding I just had to show up to. It took a lot out of it.
Yeah. So he was miserable the whole time. I ended up getting sick. Like the resort wasn't what we thought it was. Like it just it wasn't a great time. We left early. We're like we just want to go home.
I love it.
Like,
I love that.
It wasn't.
I'm tired of the picture perfect honeymoon stories. I love it.
I don't think we had any Instagram pictures taken.
No.
It was like, I think we had Pizza Hut like twice.
Like he couldn't even taste the food, so we're like probably assuming it was COVID.
Yo.
Like it was just we were confined to a space that was literally just a bed, and we're like just both miserably sick that we were like we need to go home.
Let's go.
But once again, like it wasn't that beautiful thing, but it made us stronger. Like
And
right off the bat,
we made it fun.
Yeah, we made it fun. We had our
You
laughs.
definitely have to like make the best out of some bad situations, and that was one of them. It was like this is almost laughable. It was laughable. Just, yeah.
Very cool. So, honeymoon, you got back. You mentioned a little bit how tough it was since you didn't move in with one another right off the bat. But you know, take us through getting home from the honeymoon to today. What has marriage been like?
It's been a lot. So we had that time where we were living separately. And then end of April, we were moving in. And around that time, I also found out I was pregnant. Yeah. So it was a lot because it wasn't a necessarily planned thing. Like we weren't not trying, but we weren't trying, and so it was a lot because it was like, okay, now we're moving. This was happening, and like we didn't want to tell our parents right away because there was so much stress going on with just moving in general. So we just kept it to ourselves. So it was kind of like this immediate like high, like we moved in, we're starting this family, like we were so happy. And then we waited until it was like, I was 8 weeks at the time. We figured, okay, this is a good time. Like, things have been calm. I think our parents will be happy and not stressed because we just moved. And we told everyone. And then the following day, I ended up having a miscarriage, which is really, really tough. And it kind of sucks because it's like, we literally just told everyone, like, hey, you're going to be a grandparent. And then it was like, just kidding. Like, literally within 24 hours. I didn't think I was going to cry. So that was tough because then you go from this incredible high to now this, like, just deep low. And since then, like, we've been trying to conceive and it hasn't happened, which now we're taking the necessary steps we have to through the fertility clinics and whatnot. And we have a plan set in place, so it's fine. But that was one of the things that, like, I didn't realize how much I could handle and how much I couldn't handle because it was a lot. And at the same time, it was nice to have him. And I mean, we're both going through the loss. It wasn't like it was just me, like he was also losing the child. And it was hard. And I had to talk and I ended up going to therapy for it because it's one of those things where it's so unimaginable, but so many people have actually gone through it that, like, no one just ever talks about it. And that has helped tremendously. And like I said, now we're getting to the point where we're on the right track. And so that's the future for this year. That's why hopefully by next year, there'll be a little baby. But,
wow.
But the conversations were tough. The emotions were tough. There was a lot of nights crying, whether it was both of us, whether it was her, whether it was me. So that really brought us together. Like, that challenged us, but I think that was the challenge we needed because we're best friends this whole time. We were close, we were always there for each other. We could just solve everything. She had a problem, I could fix it. I had a problem, she could fix it. This is one where we had to both work together on it. So I think it made us stronger in the outcome. The unfortunate loss, built us up so that way we're prepared for anything we have to do moving forward, I think.
That's really tough.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that happened to you guys. We'll be praying for this next baby for you guys.
Thank you.
So what did you guys do to work through those initial emotions?
My go-to reaction is just to not talk, which is something that I really needed to learn to do. Which he's great at that. Like, he's more so like, tell me how you're feeling. Like, I just want to be like, okay, I'm just going to go into the bedroom and I need to just have a moment. He's like, no, like, tell me how you're feeling. Like, let's work through this. And that helped a lot because I realized, like, okay, I can't just keep this all bottled in. Like, this is going to literally eat me alive. Like, we need to talk this out. And that helped. And you go through a grief period because, yes, it was 8 weeks, but you're also envisioning a life and that what would have been. And it's a loss. It's a loss no matter how far along. And I think, too, like, you have to reach the point of acceptance where it's like, this happened for a reason. Clearly something was wrong and my body was fixing the problem. Like, it was a crappy situation, but ultimately, like, it happened for a reason. And I think once that mentality came across and once we got to the point where it was like, okay, we're trying, nothing's working, let's get answers. That also helped instead of just, like, every month being like, okay, why didn't it happen this month? Why didn't it happen this month? And now we know what we need to do, and we're starting that. We literally just had the meeting on Monday. So now we have a plan, and we're good.
Yeah.
Wow.
On the turnaround, like I said, we learned from it. We definitely learned about each other. I think more of anything, just, like, learning how when she's upset, she'll shut down. Because we haven't had too many situations in a relationship where we're both upset and seeing how, we learn from one another. In that case, I know she's the quiet one. I'm the one that I just want to talk. I want to ask questions. I want to be like, hey, what's wrong? How can we talk about this? I'm always not trying to be funny, but, like, that's just how it comes out. Like, and, I'm always relying on her to laugh at my jokes or laugh at my silly things. So, like, it was a hard point because it's like, we couldn't do that. We weren't happy. We weren't laughing. So we had to learn to kind of push through that so we can find the positives in everything now, or try to look for the positives.
Yeah, so it was hard because like we're in this house that we always wanted.
Yeah.
And like, stupid me was like, I'm gonna get a crib, so that way when people come and visit the house, I can be like, oh, by the way, like as a way to just like surprise people and tell people. We did, and then we set it up, and now it's still in there. Like I just haven't taken it down. I'm like, we're gonna need it at some point. Mm-hmm. Like, it'd be silly to take it down just to put it back up. But yeah, it's been. Oh, well, like I said, I feel like so much has happened in 2 years, but also like, it feels like not that much. It feels like it was yesterday. Yeah.
And I think that's the benefit of just having your best friend with you. Like, we're here together, and we'll push through. We're both here for each other, and that's just kind of how we roll.
Mm-hmm. Well, you will be parents soon. What characteristics in one another do you think will shine the most as parents?
You're definitely going to be the fun parent.
Maybe.
I'm going to be the one that probably has to be strict, which is fine. And that's even like your dad's the same way. Like you just have this carefree attitude that's awesome. That's like, oh, you want to do this? Go ahead. And I'm going to be the one that's like, maybe not. Maybe like let's tone it down.
And I think at the same time, that's what's going to be awesome too. Is you'll be the one to tone us down, and that's what we need sometimes. Is just that little reminder of like, hey, let's think this one through. And I'm like, yeah, I probably should think this one through. And I think that'll be the same way to just like the caring. I think your caring goes to a whole new level. Like you go above and beyond every single thought. Like I know we both say we're overthinkers, but like. You take the thought and you're thinking, how can I make this better for you? How can I make this better for me? How could I make it better for everything involved? So I think that'll stand out as a mother then.
Yeah, we're a good balance, I think so.
I see that. Yeah. And I like it. That's awesome. We plowed through pretty much everything. Is there anything that you two want to mention or share to the world that we haven't covered so far?
No, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just communicate. Mm-hmm. Communicate, get help if you need it. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, if you're not willing to say how you feel, like, no one's going to read your mind. Mm-hmm. No one knows how you're feeling except you. So you need to be able to communicate that to be able to help. Mm-hmm. And like I said, whether that be your spouse or anyone, it does help, though, when it is your spouse because they're pretty much there all the time. Mm-hmm. So if you can talk to your spouse, that's the best. But yeah, other than that, and have fun. Life's too short. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Stuff happens and it sucks, but you can't let that define you. You can't let that bring you down. You gotta still make the best of it.
Just gotta laugh.
Yep.
Like, I always hear the term, if you're not laughing, you're crying. And it's like, sometimes it's all right to cry, but like, just try to laugh, try to make something positive and like kind of going off that question, just respect your partner. Mm-hmm. And like respect, everyone is different. Some people love to communicate, some people don't love to communicate. And I think it just comes down to that balance then of, learning about your person. And I think there's still so much to learn about you.
Yeah.
And I think like everyone can learn from their spouse as well, because every day is a new day. Every day is presented with a new obstacle. And I think it's about conquering it and conquering it together to make that strong relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. I like it. Well, Sienna, Tyler, thank you so much for joining us on the Capturing Your Love show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're excited to share this with the world, and you guys are awesome. Very excited to watch you grow and watch your family grow too.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.